Live from the Transitional Radio Uplink in Cuenca, Ecuador, you're listening to All Natural Being with guest host Henry G. Noel. What's the G stand for? Giddy up on IPMNation.com. Here's Henry.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 349th episode of Brian Brody's All Natural Being, the number one rated show on IPMNation.com and brought to you by Transitional. It's Lee Words Wednesday, and Lee Rowley is in the house, and we're ready to dazzle us with more of his whimsical wisdom. Now, we are live this evening on IPMNation.com, Transitional Radio's Facebook and YouTube pages with fly-on-the-wall video, or as Brian calls it, his shunt cam, on Facebook and YouTube, with rebroadcasts on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and a whole host of others. Now, we're broadcasting live this evening from our international uplink studio in Cuenca, Ecuador. And we want to thank you and thank our good friends at Wirecast for making it possible for us to be broadcasting globally. We also want to thank you, our trusted listeners, for without you, well, there wouldn't be much for me to do, would there? We appreciate those listening live on radio and those listening to our rebroadcasts. And we want to thank our fly-on-the-wall video listeners. We do find it far more enjoyable having you participating in the thread and sharing your ideas. So to all of our listeners from all over the globe, from places far and wide, like the United States and Canada, Mexico, the United Kingdom, and Ireland, our good friends right here in Ecuador, China, the Philippines, Brazil, India, Australia, Germany, Italy, France, Nigeria, Turkey, Japan, Singapore, Thailand, Belgium, Sweden, Israel, South Africa, Egypt, Puerto Rico, Kenya, the Netherlands, Colombia, Peru, Greece, Poland, Cambodia, and New Zealand. Thank you for investing your valuable time with us. Now, we do realize there are many other options out there where you could be spending your time. And so thank you. We really appreciate you spending it with us. Now, it's great to have you here. My name is Henry Noel, guest hosting for the soft-spoken, the demure, and the politically correct Brian Brody. Not. But I am thrilled to be filling in for our virtual hitchhiker. So from 2 degrees south of the equator, where the water drains in the counterclockwise position or direction, we want you to understand, regardless of where you are on the globe, your life is still your jungle. And you, in spite of what you think and believe, you get to carve your own path and hack out the underbrush suppressing your passion to learn. Why cow down to the sport of others? You were dealt this hand, so why not play it with all the zeal you can find and play it the way you always dreamt you would play it if you only were given the chance. No one is more qualified to control your life than you. So why cave in to the pundits who presume they are in control? Why allow the opinions of others to derail you from your all-natural being? Don't get caught up in all the foolishness that others use to dehumanize you and don't allow you to use your primal scream. So stand tall, stand proud, front and center, and do not place yourself in second place. You're better than that. And we're here to ensure you have your rock star moment as your friendly force, placing your heart's highest priority top of the list, reinstating the true wisdom and wallop of your inner whisper, to terminate the turmoil in your life and limit the liability of your lineage and streamline your sensibility so you can face this insane world head on and out brutal the brutal. All this so you can bring on your own bold once and for all. So get prepared for audio acupuncture, where we treat all the points of your chronic philosophical pain, providing auricular therapy to reduce your anxiety, medical qigong for your mind, body, and spirit, and Reiki, well, for your rationality, all to provide a natural approach to the medical mayhem we call life. healing to the nth degree. Are you ready? Are you comfortable? Are you feeling relaxed? Well, I certainly hope so. Kick off your shoes and let's get started. We trust that everyone has had a good day thus far, and we thank you for joining us on this Lee Words Wednesday evening. Thank you so much for joining with us. We are taking a break from our assessment of the past 2 years, and I will continue on Sunday evening, where we will be discussing labels. Okay? So before we fire up the ever effervescent and marginally manic Lee Rowley and dive into the thoughts, tonight's topic of creating your mental environment for your brilliance, let's get into the thread and see who is actually brave enough to join us this evening. So thank you, everybody, for being here. So let's see who's here. All right. I would take a moment here and, wow, scroll up. Obviously, my brother's here. And Alice, thank you very much for joining us. Hi, Rita. Candace is here. Thank you very much, Candace. Great to see you. John, welcome aboard, man. Welcome aboard. Juan, how are you, sir? Thank you for joining us. It's great to see you. Alice again, John, Rita, and let's see. I guess I'm here. Transitional Radio shows up. Well, I guess that's a good thing. Anyway, so there we are. So I hope everybody has had a great day so far. I really do, and I'm hoping that that you're finding a good reason to, well, bring on your own bold and not let the world get you down too much. We're going to be bringing Lee in here shortly and see what he has to say. So if you are ready, if you really are ready, let's bring on Mr. Rowley from Sales, from Sales Copy Academy. Thank you, Lee. Good evening. So everything's going okay with you? I certainly hope. I have a sound issue with Lee. I'm not hearing him. Yeah, I don't hear any sound from Lee. Are you there? Nothing? Well, I can see him, and I just can't hear him. Am I coming across? Okay. Yeah, okay, I'm going to keep going. Anyway, we'll try to get the sound for Lee as soon as it gets working. Please let me know. But otherwise, yes, we have several questions for Lee. And by the way, guys, if you have questions for Lee, like I said, we are going to deal with working on taking a real good look at how we have to be mentally prepared when we sit down to write, or when we sit down to compose, or pretty much we get down to doing anything, how important it is to mentally get composed. And so that's what we're going to be talking about this evening. And well, I may be talking about it, but we're waiting on Lee to be able to get it. But it's a good topic, because it's important that we understand how how we prepare our mental environment in order to create brilliance. We can't just simply wing it. I mean, some people may be able to, but I think the average person just simply can't. And so we're going to be discussing, how do we get prepared? What's the best ways to get prepared? How does it go into it? What fields, what things? Spectacles. So we'll see what happens. John's laughing. Candace says, "Yep, he's funny." Alice says, "You're a character, Lee." And we got Karen. Hi, Karen. How are you? Welcome to the show. We are. Here. We're just trying to see how we can do it. Janelle, how are you this evening? This is a rather one-sided two-way conversation here, so we're trying to sort all this stuff out. So Lee had a great topic we're going to talk about this evening, talking about talking about your mental environment for brilliance, how you work with your mental, create your mental environment for you to be brilliant. And I know we're going to be talking about it in a writing sense, but I think it really covers everybody's job, everything that everybody does, and how important it is that we really are mentally prepared when we get into the game. It's really very important. Okay, so thank you, John. I appreciate the word. So you can see and hear me. That's good. So I must have disappeared too there for a little while. All right. Well, we'll keep going. Candace, that is probably the best emoji I've seen. Yep, the eyes bugged out. I like it. That's about right. Electronic, we have trickery. Uh-huh. Yep, this is the old version of a shell game, I guess. I think Lee's under the shell. I'm not too sure. I think that's where we got to put him. There's not a anyway. So if you guys come up with any questions dealing with mentally preparing, the preparing your mental environment to do things, you pop up the questions and we'll just get back to them. And when Lee becomes unsilent, and everything will go great. Candace says, John, terrible. We crack up when things go wrong. It's funny. There's nothing you can do, and so there's no sense in getting upset about it. It just happens. And so yeah, thank you, Candace. You're absolutely right. It is kind of fun. It's I always felt I was a good audience, and now the audience can sit there and be a good audience and laugh like crazy at us. I think this is good. Oh wow, yeah. Brian would be laughing, and see what happens. Okay, I think Wayne's rebooting up the Wirecast or the Rendezvous right now, so we'll see what happens. I don't know if I'm still there or not. We'll see what happens, but we will be back in just a second, I think. Let's see. Thanks for trimming those nose hairs, Lee. I love that. There he is. I hear him. Oh my God. Yeah, there he is. They took the duct tape off. Look at that. You stand up and be heard.
That's
Okay, Lee.
you know what? I have no problem with that. There's there's actually a German word, Schadenfreude. My German pronunciation is absolutely non-existent, but something along the lines of Schadenfreude, which is taking pleasure in other people's misery. And I mean, you gotta. Just sometimes you just have to. So that's cool. I'm glad that we can be the source of your amusement tonight, and you'll go to bed having had a chuckle or two. So. That's what we are here for.
Well, I don't know. Rita just said, well, there's no sound for me, but I'm not sure. John, can you hear me? I just want to make sure that you're actually hearing both of us now instead of just one, and see what it brings a whole new definition to stereo, doesn't it? So let's see. I want to see if we have everything. I'm just waiting for a reply back from John before we get into this. So you're able to hear me, John? Well, somebody? Are we there? Maybe not. It could be not. I'm not really sure. Both are good. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. All right. Well, Lee, we have kept you duct taped and hog-tied and muzzled and hoodwinked and about every other thing. So now that you're free to talk, go at it, man. You got the time. I'm gonna go I'm gonna have some glass of water here while you go ahead, talk. So go ahead.
That's great. Hand me the baton and Henry goes off to make a sandwich. Yeah, that's cool. I see how this works. Okay.
Yeah. Now go ahead and describe what it is.
Yeah, first of all, hello everybody. It's good to be able to finally say hello, and to you, Henry. It's good to yeah. I was going to ask you how the temperature is in there in Ecuador today. Is okay.
Approaching our summer for us. Okay. So it's really kind of nice, even just 2 degrees below the equator, and it is summertime for us. But because we are at 9,700 feet in the altitude up in the Andes, we don't get the heat that the coast gets. The coast gets up in the 90s. We just kind of hang around the 70, 72 degree mark. So it's pretty comfortable. Okay. So yeah, how about you guys?
Well, actually, just like Monday, Summer did not even say goodbye. It just packed her crap and just left. Boom. Bye. That's it. We're not even doing fall. We're going straight to winter. At least what I feel like is winter. Of course, anything under 40 is winter as far as I'm concerned. I just don't do cold stuff, I have low blood pressure and 3% body fat. Cold and I just do not get along all that well. But that's okay. Yes. So I'm glad that you're enjoying a little more temperate weather, so we say. So we're talking today about something that I actually suck at, and that is creating your mental environment for brilliance. People go on live radio all the time, live video, talking about things that they're absolutely great at, the things that they're just impeccable at. And I'm like, okay, this is something that I stink at. And so, why not go on and talk about it? Right? Because, we're not immortals here. We're not we're not going to be immortalized in stone or anything like that. I'm a copywriter. Nobody cares. So, why not talk about these things that are challenging and not just the things that I feel like I can do with one hand tied behind my back, right?
Wow. You see, now that takes a big man. That takes a big man to be able to be willing to go into conversation that he's not that good at. This should be fun. I'm going to enjoy this. This should be really good. Okay. Let's see.
Go ahead.
Oh, Candace says, I like that. We're not the only ones, Lee. Candace says, I forgot what we're talking about. I love that. I
think if there's as many things as I forget, I think probably after I go, my earned in description will say something like, "Where's my damn coffee cup?" It's just, I'm constantly forgetting things, conversations in the middle of a conversation. In fact, I just forgot what I was talking about right now. No, I'm kidding.
Besides, talking about coffee cups, I love that horned mug that you have. That is fabulous.
Oh, the Viking skull. Yeah, drinking from the skulls of your enemies, literally. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, I've got a question for you, Lee. I'm going to get into this and remind us what it's all about and see what happens. So tell me, we all know that athletes swear by being in the proper mental state before they get into a competition. And I know when Shane was on, and I was hoping he'd be on live tonight, but I think he's got family stuff going on. But when Shane was performing martial arts, I mean, I know he was really assuredly needed to be in the proper mental state, or he got his butt kicked. I mean, it was simply, you just had to be prepared. So is there a routine that you, Lee, use to get in the proper mental state to write what you write, to write brilliance?
My routine is really nothing more than an amalgam of tricks that work for me. I would be loath to go on live radio or anywhere really and propose that I had a foolproof 7-step solution for getting into the mental state every time. Somebody might have that, but that's definitely not me. But I can talk about some of the things that I have used, and these are almost coping mechanisms for the creative mind, so to speak, because we expect ourselves to be able to be brilliant at a moment's notice and for extended period of time.
Absolutely.
Before you actually get into the things, I was reading a few days ago. The gentleman's name escapes me, but he was talking about how humans really can only do about 4 hours of what he calls deep work in a day. So, creatives that are trying to push themselves to produce for 8, 10, 12 hours or more a day, I mean, that's just so psychologically damaging, that I think that's why we see so much burnout, especially in the creative field. So, but to get back to your question, for me, they're all simple things that really shouldn't make sense out of context. I mean, one thing is, quite simply, my writing hat. I have one particular hat that I wear when I'm writing and no other time. Not to go to the mailbox, not to go to the store, anything, not even to just putz around the house. That's my writing hat. And when I have that hat on, boom, I'm writing. It doesn't make any sense. It's just, the hat itself, it's not a magic hat. It might be, I guess, but, I don't know if they have magic hat makers in Pakistan or wherever the heck it was sewn, but I don't, I'm thinking not, but just having that psychological trigger of being able to say, okay, when this thing's on my head, it's time to sit down and make big things happen on paper or on the screen. Actually, I don't know why I still say on paper, because I'm old. That's why. Right.
I love it.
Music's a good thing for that too. Yes. Music is one of the things I really, really rely on for writing, and really the genre kind of, well, actually, what I'm writing dictates the genre. If I'm writing a sales page or an email sequence for a coach or a consultant who's kind of in that metaphysical zone, then I'm gonna throw on some Yanni or some George Winston or who's the old Kitaro. I don't know if anybody remembers him back from the 80s. He's a guy who was just really big in that new age music scene. Throw some of that on it, and that lets me flip the switch to get into that mental state to write what I want to write. Now obviously if I'm writing something aggressive for a network marketing client or something like that, then I'm going to go for more of the Pantera, rip your face off stuff. But hey, to each their own, right?
Exactly. Okay, I'll go jump back in here. I want to say hi to Maria. I appreciate you joining us. Thank you again. John says we won't get started on forgetting. He goes, I inherited a disease from my mom. LOL. She forgot her phone when it was in her hand. Yeah, I got that, John. I pretty much understand. Candace says, Lee, maybe writer's block. And then, bam, inspiration hits you. And John says, put on the old writing hat. Yeah. Interesting. A good idea. Well, which is funny because it's funny how we talked about, rowing in opposite directions in the same boat. And, and so you lead right into it. My second question to you was, that many athletes practice their mental preparedness virtually like a superstitious ritual. And so I said, can some methods of preparing to get into the proper mental state cross over into being superstitious rituals, like wearing the same socks, or in your case, wearing a hat, or not wearing underwear? I mean, now, you don't have to get descriptive, and we'll stay with the hat. And, and we don't need to paint any mental images here. So, but can the superstitious side show up when you are trying to mental up?
Oh, absolutely. Especially if you try to go without it. I actually did not take my writing hat with me when we went on vacation the last time, and I had a heck of a time. It took. I found other things to cope with that, and still got the work done that I needed to do. But especially just getting started, priming the pump, so to speak. Is what we're talking here, because for me, when the creativity starts flowing, then there comes that primed point where you go, all right, I got it, let's go. But just getting to that point, getting the first 50 or 100 words on the screen, can be an all-day event sometimes if you let it. Or at least for me, it is.
Sort of like our sound issue tonight, right?
Right. Right. And I've always been fascinated by how it is that we're getting in our own way, because really that's all it is. Like I say, there's nothing magic about putting a certain hat on that changes what's going on in my brain, and yet it does, because it's a trigger. Let's say another thing I use one is and if you just go to online-stopwatch.com, it's just all that's really all it is. I set it for an hour, and boy, it can be a street fight to hit that start button. But once I hit the start button, then I'm like, okay, that's it. We're going now.
I love it.
And just go until the timer hits zero.
That makes total sense. It really does. Mm-hmm. It's funny. We cover the things that you do to bring on your own boat, so to speak, mm-hmm. And because of the seriousness of what you do and the cost as a result, if you don't bring your A game, how do you mental up during the times when you see a project going south? And I don't mean coming to Ecuador, but I mean just just heading for the pits. How do you refocus? How do you re-gear yourself up? Especially on a sort of a spur of the moment type thing, where somebody says, well, no, I don't like this. Throw something else out at me. Mm-hmm. How do you prepare for that?
One of the things that I'm really it's one of those things where I really am weak, because I will I'm notorious for doing the grind against the brick wall thing, where you hit a wall, and instead of stopping to see if there's a door 10 feet down, you just keep pressing up against it and hope that you're gonna break through it or something. It's so I'll just sit there and just I'll agonize over this and agonize, and then I'll get up and go get a pop, or get up and go give the cats treats, which is something I have to do like 35 times a day anyway. If you have cats, you know what I mean. And just really and almost will work myself into the verge of a panic attack. And then I finally have to stop and say, okay, what we need to do is step away from it for a while. So, fortunately, I'm fortunate enough to live close to a very, very beautiful park in Eastwood Metro Gardens. So it's about a 5-minute drive for me. So when it's actually decent weather here in Ohio, both weeks, I can go there and just take a walk for a half an hour and really just let it go. Because that's really becomes that fear builds up. That fear builds up of, wait, what if I'm not good enough? What if I can't pull this out? What if I can't? What if? And for me, those things, like you say, build to the point where they drive you crazy, or you just have to say, okay, let's step back here. A half an hour is not going to kill anyone. Hopefully, if somebody has to wait an extra 30 minutes to get copy that is what it should be and performs the way it should perform, then why wouldn't you? And yet when I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, I have to get this done now, it's really super hard to remember that sometimes. So that's an excellent question, and if you want a more productive answer, you should probably ask somebody else.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I know when I run into things, I mean, I'll do that. I'll either I'll leave and I'll go down and grab the guitar, which doesn't last very long because I just get sick of listening to myself playing, and so then usually that's enough to clear the head and come back up again and does stuff. And I find walking too. I'm one that just likes to walk, and so I'll get out and pace around the house, and I'll pass Rita enough times to where she will go sit down, but it's. But I know I have to deal with a lot of that at times. I usually don't have too much of a problem. If I sit down and have to write, I write. But like for last night's show, I mean, that was about 10 hours worth of research just to put that together enough to where it made sense. And so that was a brain burner yesterday. And
sure.
And like you said, I get up and walk away, and then have to say, you can't. You got to get back and get this done because you've got about 2 seconds worth of copy written, so you've got to sit down and add some work on. And but it was extremely tough, but it was a lot of research, and I really enjoyed that. I'm going to bounce back to the thread here, and I'll read a few more things to you. Let's see if there's much more in there. Let's see. Candace says, maybe your comfort zone. Candace, she posted the hat. I like that. She put a top hat up there. Alice writes, absolutely. Sometimes you just need a break. Yeah, and that's what we end up doing. Writer's block. I've always tried to convince myself writer's block doesn't exist. And for the most part, it really doesn't. It's once you can formulate the idea that you want, you can pretty much run with it. To me, it's just that's the initial to get started. What is it that I really, how do I want to start this? I mean, okay, here's the topic. This is what I want to do. Here's all my research. Now, how do I start this? Once upon a time, it's not going to work. And so my thing is getting started. And that's the issue that I deal with. But outside of that, once I get rolling, I try to pound it out as much as I possibly can. And of course, then you go back and you're reviewing it a million times, and then you fall into what ifs. So, well, I don't know about this, and I'm not sure about that. And yep, we do that. Again, I know it's difficult for me to mentally prepare, especially when preparing for these shows. This is tough to do, and I'm sure it isn't much different for you. When you're faced with teaching others, okay, how to write copy, and they're going to face the same mental exercises that you have to do, but they're going to have to figure out their own. How do you get them to realize or understand that they have to get mentally prepared? And when they throw that question out to you, okay, well, great. How do I do that? How do you do that?
Well, definitely. The things that I use or get started with, the online stopwatch really has, for me, been a complete lifesaver. And again, I'm not going to say just because it works for me, it works for everybody else, but that is one tool that I've found that consistently does work for people. Just being able to see in the the tabs, above your window that you've got open, being able to see that the numbers are counting down. Okay, is a good. It's good for me, and for a lot of people, is just a good mental trigger of like, okay, it's time to sit down and work. I always recommend that people use headphones when they're writing, even if they're not headphones or earplugs, even if they're not listening to music. Which, again, going back to that, I'm almost always listening to some sort of music when I'm writing. But it's a way to mentally block out, because 90% of the writer's block for me is eliminating the distractions. Kind of like putting blinders on a horse. Is just once those are locked in place, you're good to go. But just being able to eliminate all of the other things, especially that voice inside of you that's telling you, look, no, you can't. This is going to be stupid. This is not going to be any good. You shouldn't even write this. Nobody would read this. Da 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 da. The litany, the loop, the tapes, as they say. Obviously, again, I grew up in the '80s, so we actually had tapes. So it's hard to break myself of saying that. But there's narratives that run through that almost freeze, not freeze.
Freeze.
Almost freezes you, into a state where you can't start putting words on the page.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Realistically, is that, and again, going back and being able to allow people or give people permission to take those breaks, because that's important for them too. As Brian talks about in writing, the power being in the pauses. And I believe that's true. In another sense, the power is in the pauses, is in you're not really generating your best ideas when you're writing. You're generating your best ideas when you're not thinking about it.
Aha.
So, yeah. So for me, like I say, it's giving them permission to treat themselves the same way that they would treat somebody else in the same position. In other words, if you're sitting there and you're agonizing over something you're trying to write, and you're forcing yourself to sit there, against your will and against better wisdom, would you make that same expectation of somebody else?
Exactly.
Would you sit there and tell somebody else, no, you can't get up and think about this. No, you can't get up and cool off for a little while. You have to sit there and crank out words. You wouldn't do that to somebody else. So why would you do it to yourself?
That's exactly right. Thank you. You're absolutely right. I love it. Candace says, sometimes I'll be cruising in my car and a thought will just hit me out of nowhere, and I'll write it down immediately. And there you go. That's exactly it. It's taking those divine wisdom words that pop into your head and go with it. Rita says, can't you just get your thoughts on paper and let the words just percolate in your brain and come back to it? And then John says, distractions are huge issues, especially if they are on Facebook. It's a Facebook loop geared to keep you engaged. Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, absolutely right, John. Yep, there you go. Yeah. So yeah, there's some great observations there, and thank you for those, because absolutely right. We don't, we associate this, this preparing, this mental stuff. It's so easy to deal with it with athletes because it is so obvious. They tend to lose a lot if they're not focused. And I've watched golf tournaments fall apart. I've watched football games fall apart. I've watched soccer games and rugby games fall apart because they just felt, you could see the look on their face. They fell out of the mental acuity that they had. So athletes are always the obvious examples, when we talk about mental preparedness, preparing, because of the level of intensity with which that they have to perform. And so isn't it fair to say, though, regardless of the job you do, being mentally prepared is absolutely required? And how do you convince others to take being prepared seriously? I remember when I worked in manufacturing, trying to get people to be prepared at meetings, to really be ready for it, because I was a tyrant. I'll be honest, I was a real tyrant when I worked in manufacturing. And the character was pictured of me one time. We had a hold list. and of parts to build a rocket, and they'd be stuck in quality control, or they'd be stuck in design, or they were stuck in engineering. And so there's this caricature of me with a shotgun in my hand, and I'm saying it's held for what? And and so, I mean, I was terrible. I was really terrible. But I think it brings up the point, though, about no matter what you do, whether it's a job, whether it's a hobby, whether it's whatever you're doing, being mentally prepared for what it is that you're doing. Your point, your views.
If you want something deeply enough and you are fully aware of the benefits of it, you'll find a way to do it. I mean, that's really all it is. I mean, you look, how many courses are there out there on everything from how to build a business to, how to, invest in real estate, to how to do this, how to do that. And these things sell millions and millions and millions of dollars every year. I mean, I know because I work with some of the marketers who sell these things. Okay, so I see their numbers. I know what kind of cash they're raking in, and it's pretty impressive sometimes. But how many of those things do you ever think get finished? I mean, you're talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of a 92% incomplete rate. If you were, and that's just the data that we can get. We don't know because there's so many courses out there that people taking, that are offered individually and that are offered through places like Udemy, things like that, where people have this opportunity to do something and to grow and to better themselves. And they get excited and go, yeah, I want this. And then they get into chapter 1 or chapter 2 or module 1. And then suddenly that enthusiasm starts to wane. And usually that's because people are not looking at the big long-term benefit. I always talk about how we're so conditioned now to look for the immediate gratification. We're at the point where, a drive-through is not fast enough now. We're going to have 2 drive-throughs so we can shove people through and get them their hamburgers in 49 seconds instead of 51 seconds. So there's that whole instant gratification mentality, and that makes it almost impossible to communicate the value of being mentally prepared. If a person is not willing to embrace the long-term value of it, then they're probably not going to do the work to get there. So for me, it's about being able to keep those benefits in focus. Both working for myself and helping my clients create their own copy as well.
Very good. Thank you. Rita sings out. Well, you probably don't know, but Rita sings alto in the Cuenca International Chorale Singers, and she's emphatic about practicing. And I watch her psych herself up for performances, and I mean it's impressive to watch. But when you have when you've mentally prepared yourself to write copy, and that's all complete, okay? How do you re-mental yourself up to present what you've written, and then keep yourself mentally up when, depending on the feedback that you're getting back and forth from your clients?
Okay. Well, when I am given the time, and this depends on the client and their schedule, I like to actually to go through and test the copy out, to actually put it up on a page and, run some traffic to it and just see what happens. Because, for me, I'm always about the proofs in the numbers. Okay. Let the numbers dictate, something Brian and I were talking about earlier today. You've probably heard him say that too. Let the numbers dictate, right? That, it's, there have been so many times where I have just not been all that proud of something that I've written, and we go and we test it and it goes like gangbusters. Conversely, there have been times where I've finished a piece of copy and I'm just putting my feet up on the coffee table and going, man, I hate to pat myself on the back, but come on, let's just have it, right?
This was good.
I am brilliant. Yeah. And then, 2 days later, the client's coming back to me going, what were you thinking? I mean, it's like total cricket. So, really for me, the testing of it, is that refocusing. As far as getting feedback from the clients, I'm a real pain in the butt about that. I'll be totally honest with you, because I'll tell you why. There is no way if I took my car to my mechanic and said, "Hey, something's wrong with it. You can figure it out and fix it." There is no way that I would stand in this service bay and have the coconuts to go, "I don't think you're doing that right. I think you should do it this other way." Never mind the fact that my expertise and my skill set is something completely different. This doesn't look right to me, so I'm going to tell you it's wrong and want to waste your time. Because the guy would just pick me up, break me in half, and toss me out the service bay door anyway. So that's not good for either one of us. Okay, but this is where I am. There are some clients who really know their stuff, and we work with them, and they say, "Okay, we tested this. This part didn't really work out right," and we can get into a good conversation about it and figure out how to make it better. Conversely, not so much anymore, but I used to work with a lot of newer clients, people who were newer to online business. And they didn't always necessarily have the expertise. In fact, one of my clients, this has been a few years ago, I give him his copy, and within an hour he comes back and he says, "This is garbage." I'm just like, what do you think's wrong with it? He says, "Well, the whole thing's garbage." He said, "I gave it to my girlfriend. She read it, and she says it sucks. So it's garbage. I want my money back. I can't believe I ever hired you. You were the worst copywriter I've ever seen in my life. I hope you go die in a fire." So, I'm like, wow, okay. And I say, look, okay, far be it from me to ask here. But your girlfriend, who is such an authority on marketing copy, what exactly does she do for a living? And the guy said, "Well, that's not important, and that's none of your business." And I'm like, "All right, we're going to do a little recon mission here." So I find him on Facebook, find the girlfriend on Facebook, and find out she's a cashier at Walmart. Okay, not that there's anything wrong with being a cashier at Walmart, but I fail to see how that makes you more of an authority on sales, messaging, persuasion, and marketing than somebody who's been actually in the trenches for 10 years doing it.
There you go.
Wow, I just did. Okay.
Wow. I'm glad you got that off your chest.
Yeah, right. I've been carrying that around for years. No, I'm kidding.
We just try to
so, really, that depends. If you're sincere and wanting to have an intellectual discussion about it so we can make it the best it could be, I am all for that. If you're coming at me with a rectoencranial infarction and you have no idea what you're talking about, I'm probably just going to kick you in the pants and send you on your way.
That's it, exactly. And Candace says, "I think everyone works differently and has their own way of getting things done." And I have to, yep. I totally get it. Alice says, thank you, Alice. She says, "I admire your ability to do what you do, Lee and Henry." Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Candace says, "Heavy stuff." Yeah, it really is. I mean, this is our whimsical Lee, and at times he gets as heady as I do. I mean, this is kind of good. I like that. So I know we're going to get ready to probably wind down. What else would you like to share with our folks out here, and give another shot at the wisdom, the whimsical wisdom of Lee Rowley?
Well, listen, I mean, no matter what you're creating, I do truly believe that the power is in the pauses. It's so easy to get down on yourself, no matter what kind of creative pursuits you're into. I have an art degree, so I did painting for several years before I ran into some medical problems and kind of put that aside. But even there is having that editor in the back of your mind, that critic that's saying, no, you can't, or this isn't what everybody else is doing. No matter how individualistic we are, I know that I'm definitely a bit of a left-handed monkey wrench, but there are times where I even get into that a mentality of just like, wait, okay, this is nobody's Nobody's going to like this. Okay. And when you put something out there and most people don't like it, it's easier to focus on that, to say, wow, 98% of the people who saw this thing just thought it stunk, but okay, that's cool. But you know what? There's 2% of them that did. And that's what I'm finding more and more. And that's where the delight is in creativity for me. I'm not for everybody. I'm okay with that. I spent probably the first 20 years of my life trying to please everybody and trying to be, popular and trying to be what everybody wanted. And you know what? It didn't work. And it's not going to work for any of us. And I think that if you are in that mentality of trying to please everybody and trying to avoid any sort of criticism whatsoever, then you're just kind of resigning yourself to a milquetoast life, just bland oatmeal. Blah. Who wants to be oatmeal? I don't want to be oatmeal.
No, I tend to like. No, I kind of like the conflict. I tend to.
Okay.
I like having the discussions where we maybe just don't we just don't agree, which is great. And because it's a golden opportunity to learn, by being able to put your guard down and get everything set so that you're not trying to be argumentative or trying to defend your position. You get to listen to the other side. And I find it far more, intellectually stimulating to really go at conflict, because it seems to be good. I used to dislike conflict until I was in aerospace, and then I seemed to just kind of milk it. But I never did like conflict. I was like you. I just didn't like dealing with that. Then it became almost a nature. It was expected of you with the job title, and then then you get to be a little bit more mature with it, and then you learn, back down and learn. When I mentioned the thing about us, being getting heady here, and Candace had said heavy stuff, and then so she goes, yep, I can see the pattern. So that's cute. She sees the similarity. Alice says whimsical, definitely, and I love it. That's cool. Rita says the power of the positive. You rock, Lee. Steve, hello, Steve. How are you? Wow. Well, nobody likes oatmeal. I like it. Yep, Steve, you got it. Nobody likes oatmeal. Not now. Not in this day and age. It's a little bit too expected, I think, now. So it's kind of fun to be up there and just do what you want to do and say what you need to say, and then be prepared to eat your words and learn a little bit from it. So it really works well.
Absolutely.
Yuli, I love Wednesdays. I love having you on. You're a lot of fun. You really are. And I really enjoy it. And so I really do appreciate this. And thank you. I hope that everybody gets as much thrill out of this and gets as much enjoyment out of this as I do. Let's see. John says, know when to blaze your own path and when to take the proven path. Ooh, very good, John. Wow. Thank you.
Nice.
Man. Talking about getting heady here. What is
Where's
this?
the wisdom? Right.
That's it. That's it. John's going to have to sit in the seat here for a while. That was pretty heady, John. Thank you. I like that.
Well, we'll see if we can get 3 people in the call, and you guys can be intellectual, and I'll just kind of be the court jester. I'll do the comic relief or something. Right? A few pratfalls here and there.
No, you're going to put Brian out of a job. That's not going to happen.
No. He's got his own brand of weird. That's what I say.
Absolutely.
I love weird people. You do you, baby.
Exactly. Well, Lee, I thank you very much. I really did enjoy this evening again.
It's always great to agree again. Everybody who's still listening, thank you for putting up with me yet again. I hope you booked your appointment with the therapist, because you're doing this willingly. You know that, right?
Yeah. Masochism, is that what it falls under? Is that what it is?
Hey,
self-abuse. That's it. And by the way, if anybody out there is setting up an appointment for their therapist, throw me in there too. I could probably use it too. Let's see. Candace says really heavy, John. Really heavy, John. That he's funny. Yeah, that's true. Greta says, is that know when to hold them and know when to fold them. There you go. John says, Lee, you'd make a great gesture. Great jester. Too funny. That's great.
Thank you. Jesters usually end up getting killed, though, don't they?
When the king don't laugh, yeah. When the king doesn't laugh, it's usually not a good sign. It's like you're doing acupuncture on an emperor, and he doesn't get better. It doesn't go well for the acupuncture, so it doesn't go well with the jester either.
Yeah, okay. It sounds like that's going to be a little high pressure for me.
Yeah, I would think so. It's like keep your day job doesn't work.
No. Especially when you end up on the wrong side of a guillotine. Okay.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Lee. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much, man.
It was a pleasure.
Everybody, I want to thank you again. Tomorrow we'll be back. Remember, tomorrow is Thursday, and last week we did a pretty much free-for-all Thursday. We are going to do free-for-all Thursday again, so bring on your issues, or bring on your compliments, or bring on your concerns. Bring on your bowls. Whatever you want to share tomorrow, the field is open to you, and I will field questions. I will respond. I will laugh. Hopefully I won't cry, but we will deal with everything as it comes through, and I'm looking forward to it tomorrow. So be prepared. We'll put a posting up tomorrow to remind y'all, but bring it on tomorrow. It'll be a lot of fun. So thank you, everybody. Have a great evening. Hasta mañana.